to help us out with the reflection. So we want to go ahead and do that reflection as they're talking about. We want to reflect on the line, consider reflection of the left triangle. So triangle FJD, just the triangle. Yes, it's got some attachments to it, those two circles and the other triangle. But we're not worrying about that. We're just going to do that triangle here, FJD, across line M. So how are we going to use that patty paper to do a reflection? Just like we've been doing, we're going to have two things on there. We're going to have the pre-image for sure. For rotation, we have the point of rotation. For the translation, we then had that point that we followed along, right? Here, for the reflection, same deal. We're going to have a pre-image on there. We'll do. You got temporary there? All right, so as I was saying there, for that patty paper, again, lay that patty paper on top. You're going to put that pre-image on there, triangle FJD. And the other thing that you want on there with the reflection is then your line of reflection. Okay, that's going to help you out there. Okay, so how are we going to do this? What is a reflection, guys? A reflection is a what? It's a flip. So what are you going to do with that patty paper? Flip. You're going to flip your patty paper, exactly. And then when you flip it, what are you going to align then? The reflection line, exactly it. And now, where is that image triangle going to be? Where should it be? Right there on the left side, correct? It should be, right? So go ahead then and put your pencil underneath that patty paper, right? And I'm going to just do my best to kind of eyeball it out. But yours should be a little bit better than mine, right? So J prime should be roughly, for me, right about there. D prime should be directly below that, right? And then where's F prime going to be? Right on the line, same location, right? F prime is not going to move, is it? Connect the points. And one more time, what should be true about these two triangles? It better be congruent. What was this? This is a reflection. This is an isometry. Image and pre-image, it better be congruent, okay? This is what we say is a rigid transformation, right? So that's how we're going to use our patty paper to help us out with these reflections, okay? You want to have that pre-image on there, and you want to have that that reflection line on there too, okay? So let's use that patty paper today. Now, let's talk about that. We've talked about some of this work with some of these segments that are pseudo being created. So let's look at that segment J prime. It's not drawn. You don't need to necessarily draw it in. But what are they talking about for J prime? You don't necessarily need to draw that in. If you want to put it in, let's put it in as a dash, maybe. What could you tell me about J prime and D prime that I highlighted there? They're parallel. Okay, they're definitely parallel. Okay. Anything else maybe you could tell me there? They're same distance. They're congruent, aren't they? And the reason why they are the same distance, they're congruent, is because they are one above each other, right? And we're just going to shorten it and congruent for everybody, okay? Which tells me that same thing, kind of on the question C then. And it goes right next to that, okay? Now, what's some other things that's happening here? When we bring that line M into it, from J to M and J prime to M, what's happening there? D to M and D prime to M, what also relation's happening there? It's right there in the middle, isn't it? It's the mid. It's acting like it's in the midpoint. So when we reflect that over, I've said that word before a couple times, equidistant, right? J M to J prime M those are equidistant. D to M, D prime to M, they are equidistant. So, right, we are having a midpoint right there on our line of reflection. So, how do I want to phrase that? Let's see. This is how they phrase it. Just double check that. Okay, the mid. We'll use that then. The midpoints of J prime and D prime are on line M. Okay, so yeah, and what that means is again they are getting cut in half, aren't they? Okay, so let's continue using that vocabulary we've talked about so far throughout that school year. That's always going to be true, isn't it? Okay, so let's go ahead and we get that. Skip that. Keep talking a little bit more about reflections. Okay. Now, when we do the reflections, we talked about this the other day with translations. Number 2, up at the top, we get these corresponding parts. Okay, these corresponding parts on it to make corresponding statements. Now, unfortunately, they don't. We have to flip back and forth. But we have what FJD, right? Was the triangle. So when they say match up again the corresponding sides and the corresponding angles. Okay, what are our 3 sides? FJ. What was another side? JD, and what's my other side? Yeah, go walk it around. If you need to flip it back to the other page, go ahead, but just think about it. We have a triangle FJ and D. So the only other side I haven't accounted for was FD. So when you flipped it around, okay, let's make sure again corresponding parts are matching up. Okay, so when we flip that around, F is again corresponding to what for its image? The preimage is F, the image is F prime. The preimage J is corresponding to what image? What? Yeah, J prime. So keep making sure you're kind of playing that matching game as you do those transformations, making sure that they are matching up to one another. Okay. J prime goes, sorry, J to J prime and D prime, right? And lastly, F prime D prime, right? Angles too, no big deal there, right? Shouldn't be a big deal. Angle FJD, and what goes there? Angle what? Yeah, nothing crazy. Those are pretty impossible to screw up. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's usually pretty impossible. It's usually when we do different letters, A, B, C for the preimage, and then say like D, E, F after that. We use just completely different letters. So we'll get some practice in with that as well. Okay? Just make sure that's what we're talking about, writing your corresponding statements, or congruent statements for the corresponding parts. All right. Now, when we've said the other day, doing a rule, we said, hey, reflect. We literally wrote like reflect over the line y equals 3. Reflect over the x-axis. That's no problems. I'll still keep talking like that, and we'll write those rules out like that. At some point here at the high school level, we'll then make a reflection rule. We'll change that around. This is kind of that next step, like we did the translation rule, and that's where that's happening right here. Okay, so here's another way we can write a reflection rule. Okay, now capital R right there for reflection. Now on there we have a subscript, and what's that subscript telling us to do? Reflect over what? Reflect over whatever line they want you to do. So in this case, they're asking us to reflect over line L. Reflect what over line L? Okay, that is going to still represent your preimage. They also call it your input, preimage input. That doesn't change up for the translation. And then in return, what do you get? You get an output or your image, right? So same general idea. It's just now reflection over what, and then take your take your pre-image and your input and do it. Okay. So let's go ahead here, and in this instance, write a function rule for that triangle. What do we just do? What do we reflect over? What line did you guys just reflect over? Yeah, we reflected over line M, didn't it? Didn't we? So we're going to reflect over line M. And what do we actually reflect? Triangle what? F, J, D, didn't we? And what do we get in return? In return, we get triangle what? F prime, J prime, and D prime. Nothing crazy, okay? Nothing crazy off that. Just that is our new rule that we'll take a look at. Again, we just kind of each year I say each year, every couple of years we talk about a little bit cleaner rule. Okay. Now, let's do some more reflections here, and we've kind of talked about this already. That is that equidistant, as Jillian had mentioned with that everything did that same flip. Everything went over that same reflection line. So go ahead. Let's take a look at this one. We're going to do a reflection of, not triangle, over a quadrilateral STUV over what? Over line M. And what are we going to get in return? S prime, T prime, U prime, and V prime, right? So take that patty paper of yours and repeat what we just did. That's why I gave you a fresh sheet today. And nothing really crazy, but it's a flip, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Flip it over, and what should again be happening after you flip that over and you put your pencil underneath it there? What you should be able to do with your notes page is if you could fold your notes page on that line M, then what should happen with those two shapes? They should match up exactly, right? So as you're doing that, I'm just gonna I gotta kind of eyeball it, do my best to eyeball it. Not gonna be as great as yours will be, but it's gonna be somewhat decent enough. That's all I ask for here. Yours will be a little bit better. Now, when I grade yours, I'm looking for. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna get a ruler out and measure and all that kind of stuff. What I'm looking for is that equidistance part of things. Hold on. So real quick here, as we were saying, when I look at things, what I'm looking for is that equidistant part of things. So I'm looking, again, quick glance to make sure T and T prime are split evenly, all right? Such that T prime is that same distance from M. If your T prime is shifted over a little bit too far to the right, and I can tell that you just didn't do it right, that's where those points will kind of, fall off the way. Or if that image is just not been flipped correctly, that's of course gonna happen there. So U prime, same deal. I'm looking for everything to be equidistant from that line of reflection. S prime should be, if I were to take a ruler, and S to M was say 5 inches, I should see M to S prime should be also 5 inches. T to T prime, T prime to M is 2 inches. I should see 2 inches there. Am I going to do that? Absolutely not. But that's really what should be happening off there. Okay? Questions? It's nothing really too crazy, is it? Okay. If you haven't done so yet, take the next one there if you haven't. We're going to do what? A reflection over line C. And what is our pre-image? Triangle JCTG. And what do we get in return? J prime, T prime, and G prime. Okay. So with this one, not a vertical line, is it? Who cares? You got your patty paper. Patty paper is your buddy. All right. Pre-image is on there. A lot of reflections on there. Those two things have to be on there. Make it a nice clean reflection. Flip that paper of yours, right? And then after that, slide that pencil underneath your patty paper. Again, I'll do my best to just kind of eyeball it there roughly. T prime, give or take. Yours again will be better than mine, just because I'm kind of eyeballing mine. But you guys again have patty paper. And if you take your notes, take your notes page now, and you were to say fold your notes page along that line of reflection C, what should again happen with those two triangles? They better match up, pretty darn close to it. Okay. Cool. All right. Let's keep talking here. All right. Let's go ahead and flip that page. And let's see what else is going on. Let's go with page 121. Find me the line of reflection. So on the next page, I want you to find me the line of reflection then. So on number 6 there, letter A, find me that line of reflection. I want you to find that line of reflection. So don't eyeball it. Let's use that patty paper. How we can use that patty paper to help me find the line of reflection then. Patty paper's your buddy. How are we going to use it to find that line of reflection? Another thought? How we can use that patty paper to help us find a line of reflection?
You like draw the shape right, like twice, like obviously in the photo and then fold it over.
Right, just like I was talking about, what I've been saying here at the end. If you want to check to make sure you drew it correctly, what have we been saying? If you fold it along that line, what should be happening then? Those two shapes should be matching up, right? So James just said exactly what we should be doing. You're going to put those two shapes on there. And as you put those two shapes on there, you're then going to use that patty paper to kind of manipulate it. As you manipulate it, all right, patty paper is nice, it manipulates pretty decently. And as you manipulate it, you're going to twist it, turn it a little bit until they do match up. And eventually they match up on letter A. And then you're making a nice little crease, aren't you? And as you make that nice little crease, put a nice little crease in there. And where is that line of reflection? That line of reflection's in there. This one does have a line of reflection. And where is that line of reflection? Now again, I don't have a stellar one. That line of reflection should be right about there. Okay, right about there. Give or take, I would say. Okay. All right. So that's how we can find a line of reflection, again, using our patty paper. Can we do that for letter B?
Yes.
I don't know, is it yes or no?
No.
I don't know, try it out. Take letter B. What do we have? Octagons or hexagons? What was it? Those are pentagons. Nope, either one. Those are pentagons. So let's put those pentagons on there. This morning I was looking at those two pentagons. And I was doing the same thing because some are more obvious than others. Excuse me. Letter A was, for me, was a little bit obvious that there should probably be a line of reflection. The pentagon maybe was not as obvious, so I would put my patty paper on there, got the two of them, and I was trying to, one second, Carter. I was trying to manipulate it. I was trying to manipulate it, and did you find one? It could not. What actually appears to probably be happening more on letter B, maybe not a reflection, but more of a rotation is probably happening. So on this one, I would say what? No reflections happening. Okay? I don't see a reflection happening. Can we do the same on the last one there? No. What's really actually seems to be pretty obvious on this one? A slide. Maybe a slide. I would say a translation is probably happening on that one, wouldn't you say? If any,
We already got a page. Why did Carter leave to learn?
when this boots back up, sign into it. Okay? So no reflection on this one. More than likely, this was a rotation. And on this one, we said no reflection. And what is this probably more of? We said this one's probably more a translation, right? Okay. All right. Got anything more to talk about? Please say no. We did that. We did that. What did you want me to say? Yes or no? I'll say no then. All right. We'll call it Friday. Okay.